What up, my dudes, and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to teach you all how to make a very simple and easy, lazy beef stroganoff. But we're going to be using ground beef instead of beef chunks. And as a bonus, I'm going to teach you how to make gluten-free egg yolk noodles, which you can make non-gluten-free by just using regular all-purpose flour. Without further ado, let's get started. Here's the ingredients you're going to need for the egg yolk noodles. You're going to need 4 whole eggs, 1 egg yolk, some gluten-free all-purpose flour, some salt, and make sure your gluten-free all-purpose flour has xanthan gum in it. If not, you're going to add some later. If you're using regular flour, you won't need a xanthan gum whatsoever. Measure yourself out 2 cups of flour haphazardly, like so. Pour it into a bowl. Then add about half teaspoon to a teaspoon of salt. If your gluten-free flour does not have xanthan gum, go ahead and add half a tablespoon to your mixture. If it does, you can omit this step. And if you're using regular flour, all-purpose flour, you can just skip this altogether. Go ahead and whisk everything with a fork. Then make yourself a nice little well. This is where your eggs are going to go. And go ahead and crack those eggs into our well that we've created. Starting with 1 and ending up with 4, like so. Throw your eggshells into the sink and then pour that egg yolk into the pile. Delicious, eggy. That's why it's called egg yolk noodles. Now we're just going to whisk this all together in that center. And as we're whisking, we're going to go ahead and just gently combine that flour off to the side until it becomes a sludge like so. Whisking more and more intensely, and then eventually it's going to start to form a ball on us. If it's too sticky, add more flour. And then you're going to go ahead and use your hands and work it together into a nice little dough ball. Dust yourself some wax paper and put your ball there. Go ahead and knead it around a little bit more. We don't want this to be overly wet, but we don't want to make it too dry. Chop it into 4 pieces because it's going to make it easier to work with. And go ahead and grab another piece of parchment paper and flour your work surface. Pat down one of your pieces just to get it started. And make sure you got each side floured. Grab yourself a rolling pin, or if you got a pasta maker, that's even better, and roll out your dough. What you're going to want to do is turn it occasionally. I recommend turning it and rolling it 4 times and then taking the whole dough and flipping it over. Otherwise, it's going to stick to the parchment paper like this. When you flip it over, you want to check to make sure the dough isn't wet and reflour if necessary. Otherwise, you're going to have to peel it off like so. But hey, it was my first time making these noodles, so mistakes are going to happen. That's okay. We learn by doing. But anyway, let's go ahead and skip ahead to where this is peeled off. We're going to go ahead and chop our noodles into whatever size you prefer. I'm doing kind of a wide egg yolk noodle. I would recommend actually rolling these out thinner than what I did. Mine ended up being a little bit thick. When you go to cook them, they're going to end up kind of reabsorbing into themselves, if that makes sense. Go ahead and make yourself 6 balls like so. And just as a proof of concept, here's my wife the next day making noodles herself. This is very easy to do. Very simple. You're good. See, look at that.
Noodles, yay!
Ooh, make a ball. Off to your first spaghetti squish ball. There you go. Then you can throw them over on the tray. Good job, you're making noodles. Now you're going to fill yourself up with a pile of water and bring it to a boil while you prepare your beef stroganoff. We're doing ground beef stroganoff, and we're going to be using some chives, 4 to 5 garlic cloves, depending on size, 3 shallots, 4 tablespoons of butter or 1/4 cup, sour cream, Worcestershire sauce, salt, pepper, beef stock, about 2 cups, and 1.5 pounds of ground beef. You can also use mushrooms if you like them, but personally I think mushrooms are God's mistake, so they're not going into mine. So we're going to chop up our chives and save those for later. This is going to be a garnish. And we're just going to add those to our salsa bowl. Next we're going to go ahead and chop ourselves up our garlic. Nothing but a little bit of a rough chop. No need to get fancy. Then we're going to go ahead and dice our shallots. You get nothing fancy, as big or as small as you want. And we're just going to add that to our pile. Like so. Now you got garlic and shallots. Now we're going to melt 4 tablespoons or 1/4 cup of butter in the pan. And off screen, we're going to whisk together our 2 cups of beef stock, 3 tablespoons of flour, and 2 tablespoons of Worcestershire sauce until it's homogeneous like so. Once our butter is melted, we're going to go ahead and add our garlic and shallots. And then we're just going to lightly fry those until they got a nice little caramelization and are nice and fragrant. Smells good already. Next, we're going to go ahead and add our ground beef. So this is what makes it an easy, about 30-minute meal, is the ground beef. Normally we'd use steak chunks or stew meat, but hey, some nights you're feeling lazy and that's fine. Alright, once you got everything kind of semi-browned, your water should be coming to a boil, and you're going to go ahead and add your egg yolk noodles to it. These are going to take about 90 seconds to 2 minutes to cook, and you're going to want to stir them occasionally as you do this. Look at that, nice and cooked. Drain them, and then put them on a plate. Once your ground beef is nice and brown, you're going to go ahead and pour that mixture that we made and deglaze our pan, bringing it to a light simmer. This is going to incorporate all those flavors and get them to know each other. Next, we're going to hit it with some pepper and a nice heaping tablespoon of salt. A little bit more, do it to your taste. And then I'm going to add a little bit of smoked paprika. This is optional, you don't have to do it. And we're going to stir this all together. If you were using mushrooms, you should add them with the garlic and shallots. Next, grab a half cup of sour cream, and we're going to spoon 1 or 2 scoops of our stroganoff into it. This is going to temper the sour cream and keep it from curdling. And then we're going to add the sour cream to our mixture. Now we're going to stir everything together until it becomes nice and combined. And it becomes one solid color. Like so. You can smell it. Now we're going to pour that on top of our egg yolk noodles. You can also use rice if you don't want to make noodles. You can also just buy egg yolk noodles. And here's what it's going to look like when you add the sour cream and chives as a garnish. Alright guys, I just finished it up, so I'm going to go ahead and give it a bite. Oh yeah. It's really good. Nice, savory stroganoff. The gluten-free egg yolk noodles. Gluten-free egg yolk noodles. Tastes just like regular ones. This is fantastic. I recommend everybody try it. Alright, I'm gonna finish my plate. And there you have it, guys. An easy and simple ground beef stroganoff that you can make in about 30 minutes as long as you have egg yolk noodles on hand. If you're gonna make them from scratch like I did, I recommend rolling them a little bit thinner. Mine were a little bit too thick for my liking, but that's okay. As always, like, comment, and subscribe. Until next time, toodles.